Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 825. The Guitar Player returns. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the folks over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. They got some new things in over there. One of them is the Two Chairs No Waiting enamel camp mug. That's right, you can get a metal camp mug. It's white enamel. It's got Two Chairs No Waiting all the way around it. Go and check that out. While you're there, check out the brand new Hello Doll t-shirts. There's 4 different colors. Go and check those out over at Weavers. There's also a great looking Mayberry CD Scrape art print that you might want to see, and a car coaster and keychain all over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. The car coaster and the keychain have the squad car emblem on it. The squad car emblem that you see on the side of the squad car. That's pretty cool. Anyway, hey, I'm Allan Newsome, the host of Two Chairs No Waiting, and the executive producer of episode number 825 is Jan Newsome, my wife, and owners of Weaver's Department Store. So she told me I had to put her name in. No, no, she didn't. Just make it. Sometimes she throws things at me, so I have to be careful. Hello, everybody. Again, I'm Allan Newsome, the host of Two Chairs. It's great to be here. We're going to be talking about the guitar player. Now, the guitar player, this is the return, not the first. So we're back to the guitar player himself. James Best is back this week, and I know you're going to enjoy it. You know the episode, right? You do know it. It's the town's hero. Well, I guess he was a kind of a hero. Jim Lindsey. James, he did call him Jimmy at one time. Didn't think about that. But James Best comes back as the guitar player in this episode. Jim Lindsey. The town doesn't take long, though, for them to figure out that the big star seems to be having some kind of problems. And after Andy kind of talks to him and everything, he learns that Jim's not paying his bills. Basically, a collection agent shows up and takes his car away from him. There's just a lot of stuff goes there, but Andy ends up fixing the whole problem. So you remember that, right? That is the episodes. So I just want to remind you that all this information and stuff that I'm always telling you about, you can go to mayberry.info, and there's an episode guide there on mayberry.info where you can go and look at all this information that I'm giving you right now. The guitar player episode, everything is there that you can go and see. So definitely think about doing that, because it's a fun site, and I've got it set up now so that if you go there, the episode guides now actually show you the aired order, the filmed order, the overall episode number for the entire series. So it goes from 1 to 249, what episode number that would have been. The season dot episode number, so it's S1.E1 would be season 1, episode 1. And it's got the original air date and the title of the episode. So all that information is there for every season of the Andy Griffith Show. So you can go and check those out over at mayberry.info. It's a great website, even though I am the one that runs it. It's a great website with a lot of really cool Mayberry information, and it's like Wikipedia. So if you have new information, you can provide that to us as well. So let's go and start talking about this episode. Let me get a little background music going for us, so we'll have something to kind of, keep us going. It's just, we'll do a real easy one here. A little background music about Jim Lindsey. Jim Lindsey, the guitar player. After we finish this, we're going to do some odd facts known by few. Then we're going to do some trivia based on this same episode. I think you're going to be able to do okay on these trivia questions. All right, so the episode starts off with Barney and Ellie and Andy all at Ellie's drugstore. They're in there, and Andy comes walking in and says, "Guess who is coming to town? Jim Lindsey." Well, Ellie doesn't even know who that is because she wasn't in town. Remember, she moved to Mayberry. She's not from Mayberry. So she moved to Mayberry and finds out about Jim Lindsey, and, Barney's excited about him coming because he's got, the big record deal and everything coming. So Andy and Barney go off. They're going to do some kind of welcome party, but Barney just cannot understand how she doesn't even know, do you not listen to records? You don't know his big record, Rock and Roll Rosie from Raleigh? You don't know that? So they head out and they head over first to the barbershop and start talking to the mayor, who happens to be there getting his hair cut by Floyd, talking about having him come in. And the mayor even suggests that his daughter could sing a song when he arrives. And you can kind of see the disappointment on the men's face, but they kind of just let that go and then keep on moving forward with, they're going to have a big reception with Jim Lindsey. But basically he rolls up into town while Barney is still trying to find his whistle, and he goes in, sneaks into the courthouse while the guys are in the back room and starts playing his guitar, and they come out and Andy gets his guitar and joins Jim, and they have a little session there of music, right there in the courthouse. And, you see Jim playing the guitar, you see Andy playing the guitar. It's just like Mayberry. But Barney was disappointed because he didn't get to escort Jim into town. So he's going to escort Jim in the car. So he gets in the squad car and Jim gets in his car, and they drive all the way from the courthouse over to the hotel, which is half a block? And there's people outside the hotel. There's music. There's band. They're playing for this hometown boy who's gone off and made it big in the music business, and he's returned. And they've got signs, and the mayor has a speech he has to give him. And Jim just assures everybody that he's going to be friends with him just like he always has. So Opie, of course, had a handful of what's that stuff called you throw in the air to throw at people? Yeah, that stuff. And he was going to throw it at him, and he forgot because it was so exciting. So he asked who he could throw it to, and Andy offered to let him throw it at him. And it all ended up on Aunt Bee and Miss Ellie. I don't know if you ever watched that. They invited Jim over for supper that night. So Jim joins Andy, Barney, Aunt Bee, Ellie, and Opie there at the Taylor home, and they again play some music and have a great time. But as they're wrapping up the music session, there's a knock on the door, and Aunt Bee gets over and knocks on the door goes to answer the knock on the door. And it's for Jim. So Jim heads over to the door, and the man that's at the door is with a collection agency. Because we find out that Jim has not been making his payments on his nice little sports car that he got. Okay, so he basically ends up having to give the man the keys because he had missed the payments. And he comes back in, puts back on a brave face there with Andy, and Andy asked if he'd play another song for him. Well, this time the guitar tune he plays is just a little bit more mellow. But things continue on, and Andy comes into the drugstore, and Jim's leaving as he gets there, and but he has asked Miss Ellie to put what he had bought on his tab. And then he starts to tell Andy about all the deals he's getting and offers. And when he leaves the drugstore, Ellie says, I don't really know him and everything, but he's not been paying his bills. And I know he's your friend and you're vouching for him, but I just felt like I needed to mention this. Well, Andy assures her, no, I'm sure it's all fine. So he leaves the drugstore and heads over to the barbershop. And when he walks in, Floyd's in there talking, and well, they bring up the fact that he's not been paying for his haircuts or anything either, and hadn't been paying his bill to Jason down at the hotel either. And so they start to get a little bit concerned about it, and Andy decides he needs to look into this. It's probably nothing. He just hadn't paid his bill yet. And so he heads on out and decides he's going to give Bobby Fleet, his band with the beat, give Bobby a call. Well, Bobby starts to tell Andy what really happened, which was basically that Jim got a little big for his britches and decided that, he was more important than the band, and demanded all kinds of stuff. And basically they got into an argument, and Bobby Fleet said some things to Jim that Jim didn't like, and he quit. So they haven't made back up, but he'd love to have him back. is what he tells him. And he said, you'd like to have him back in the band? Yeah, if he'd get his pride off of his shoulders, he'd come back. Sure, I'd offer him a job. And Andy says, well, I'll tell you what, let me see if I can round you up a guitar player. So Andy goes to visit Jim at the hotel, and Jim is packing. He's ready to go. He's leaving Mayberry. And Andy starts to talk to him about it, and he said, guess who's in town? Bobby Fleet. Oh, really? That's what Jim says. He said, then Andy says, yeah, I talked to him. Oh, well, I guess you know the truth then. And he proceeds to tell Andy, I was just too proud to say anything about it, about what I'd done. He said, well, Jim, people liked you before you left. Why did you think they'd be different? But Jim's got a lot of pride. And so he said, I'm leaving. Even though Andy tells him, well, Bobby's offered to take you back, Jim. Yeah, if I come back and grovel. So in the end, since Jim was going to leave, Andy has to arrest him because he's going to be skipping out on his bills. So Andy takes him back to the courthouse and locks him up. And Bobby Fleet's there, and Bobby says, how much does he owe? What's he owe? And Andy says, about $75. And so Bobby pays his bills, basically. And then he proceeds to tell Jim, you're going to have to come work for me now because you're going to have to work this off. And Bobby does apologize for calling him no talent or whatever exactly it was he said. And Jim comes out, and Bobby and him shake hands, and Jim accepts the new position, and Bobby even offers to give him a raise. So Andy then tells Jim, go out and act like somebody or something like that. It's what this thing, and Jim kind of nods his head. Well, the epilogue is Jim and Andy are both playing the guitar, and Bobby is playing basically a newspaper, but he's tapping it like he's drumming. And so they're singing songs and playing. And then Barney says, why don't we play another one and I'll play along with you? And he pulls out his harmonica. Well, Andy takes the harmonica away from him, and then Andy and Jim proceed to take Barney by the arms and lift him off the ground and walk him over to the jail cell and lock him in the cell. And then they come back and get their guitars and begin to play. With Bobby Fleet joining in and Barney standing in the jail cell looking on. And that is how the episode ends. Guys, I know you've seen the episode. Definitely go and check it out if you haven't. But hopefully that reminds you of everything that happens on the show to a point where you will be able to at least play along with these odd facts known by few. All right, so here they come. All right, odd facts known by few related to this particular episode. At the beginning of the episode, Jim comes into the courthouse and he starts playing. As I mentioned earlier, he's in the courthouse. He basically he surprises Andy and Barney by him playing the guitar. All right, but it's clearly an electric guitar. Okay, but or that you hear. The guitar he's holding is acoustic, though. It's an acoustic guitar, but the sounds clearly sound like electric guitar playing. So that's something you had to have noticed this. This can't be something, even an untrained ear of a non-musician can definitely tell that it is an electric guitar. Let's see. According to Aunt B, Jim's favorite dinner, which she invited him to dinner while they were standing there in front of the hotel. His favorite dinner is fried chicken and cornbread. So there's another odd fact known by few. All right. So I have another odd fact, but it's going to be a trivia question, and I kind of already gave it away. So if you were listening, you should be able to get it. The next odd fact is this one, though. I'm skipping the one that I'm going to do trivia with. The roadster that was driven by Jim, that he drives up into town in, the car, is a 1961 Mercedes-Benz 190 SL. Manufactured as a entry-level Mercedes convertible. The 190 was very popular in the United States in the 50s and the early 60s. Okay. All right, so there you go. Let's see. Jim plays an electronic, a jazz master, a Fender. Yeah, I can't talk. A Fender Jazz Master electric guitar is what he plays in the Taylor living room. When Jim finishes playing the guitar in Andy's living room, the applause from Andy, Barney, Ellie, and Aunt B is clearly enhanced by some soundtrack. So there's a sound effect there. So it's not just them clapping. So something to listen for. But that is the guitar he was playing. And when he finishes up, the soundtrack has applause in it as well. So in the close-up shots of Andy and Jim playing the Midnight Special there in the living room, Andy's ankles are crossed. But when you see him in the long shots, his ankles are not crossed. So the long shots show him without crossed legs, and the close-up shots of just him and Jim Lindsey, his legs are crossed in front of him. His legs are crossed in front of him. Something to be looking for. I realize these are odd facts, and it's definitely nitpicky, but it's something I thought you would enjoy knowing about that. So his feet are apart when he's in the long shots, and they're crossed when they're in the short, up close two-person shots. Let's see, an out-of-date edition of the TV guide is once again seen in this episode. It's actually seen just over Ellie's head when she had been talking to Andy about Jim not paying for his bills. It's an out-of-date TV guide with Lucille Ball on the cover. It's just over the top of Ellie's head. You can see it. It's a little blurry in the background, but the cover's been on previous episodes as well. But it has returned to its former position on the top shelf of the magazine rack near the top hinge of the pharmacy's front door. Since this is a previous appearance at the other end of the shelf, it had moved around throughout the run of the first season. All right, so you can see that. When Jim is playing at the courthouse at the end of the episode, when Andy and Jim and Bobby Fleet are all playing, that sound, clearly there's a bass playing, a bass guitar you can hear, and a full band accompanying him, but it's really only Andy and him and Bobby Fleet. So when they're playing there at the end, listen to the music. You'll hear a lot more music than just those three things. It could be like Briscoe's, where you can get guitar sounds, banjo sounds, and everything out of some of those instruments, but that's what you're hearing, the bass and other instrumentation during that shot. This is the first and only appearance of this particular Bobby Fleet that we saw. His name is Herb Ellis. He's the second of two to play the character. Herb Ellis in the classic Clint Eastwood movie Hang 'em High as well. But that's who Herb Ellis is. This was the last appearance of Ellie Walker. We never saw her again. This was it. The last time we ever saw Ellie on the show. This was her last episode. So let's say bye to Ellie, because as we continue on talking about him, we won't see her anymore. She didn't return after the first season because she felt that the chemistry with Andy Griffith wasn't what it should be. And plus she just didn't feel like the character was working. That she is playing this young woman who was more, she had been out in the world and done things, and really Eleanor had not done that. She'd gone straight from Father Knows Best to doing this, and basically had never lived. And so that was one of the reasons that she said that she wanted to leave. There are some podcast episodes I've done in the past about it where she tells the story herself. So if you'd like to read or listen to that, I don't guess you can read it, but you can listen to those. If you go back and search for Eleanor Donahue, you'll be able to find them. Okay. I didn't put those in the show notes, but maybe I should have. Let's see. Earl Hagen was the music director for this episode, and there's always the question of who's really playing for Jim Lindsey, because it's not Jim playing, obviously. When you see Jim playing, they do close-ups of his hands. That's not James Best. That's not James Best. So Earl Hagen, the music director for the Andy Griffith Show, said that the person playing the guitar for James Best, his name was Barney Kessel. And since Earl is the music director for the series, he should know. I think Mr. Best said it was somebody else, but we have to go with Earl and assume that is correct. So actor James Best, who played Jim Lindsey on this episode, is, of course, best known as Roscoe P. Coltrane in 141 episodes of the series The Dukes of Hazzard. He also directed 3 episodes and was the associate producer of Burt Reynolds' movie The End. James also was a painter, and he created many oil paintings and had his own website with all that on there. So his beach home that he lived in was destroyed by Hurricane Frederick in September of 1979. Odd facts known by few, and now you know. So there you go. That is our odd facts. That is our list of fun things that you might not have known about the guitar player. So I hope you like that. So, hey, before we get into the trivia, I've got a little bit of fun for us. So last week, I was talking about characters on both Perry Mason and on the Andy Griffith Show. And there were 273, I believe is the right number. Honestly, don't remember at this point, but it's 273, I do believe. So we did have a nice comment that came in from some guy named Dennis Rush. So Dennis, who played Howie on the Andy Griffith Show, Opie's buddy, Howie, could float the boats in his basement and saw Barney hanging himself in Opie's house. And, that's who he is. So Dennis wrote in about that particular comment. He said, "Hey, Allan, I was one of the 200 plus actors that appeared on both the Andy Griffith Show and Perry Mason." Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? So Dennis, thank you so much for taking time to write in and let us know that. That is really cool. Now everybody's job is to be watching for Dennis on Perry Mason. I've seen him on there, but it's been a while, but it's so fun to catch our friends, our actors that we know on shows like that. And Dennis is just he has been so nice and so kind. He really exudes the Mayberry spirit, and I thank him so much. That just made me happy that he wrote in and told me, yeah, I was one of those 270 some odd people that were on both shows. And I was like, man, that is so cool. So anyway, I wanted to make sure you guys knew that before we actually got started with our actual trivia. I just think that is so fun. Hopefully you do too. And we're not just going out and, I'm not the only one enjoying this, I hope. So, all right. So let's go to that. So the actual number is 273 people were on both Perry Mason and the Andy Griffith Show. I looked it back up while I was rambling. So everybody's ready for trivia. Let's go for trivia. Now the trivia tonight is all about the guitar player. It's all guitar player related. So let's get our trivia music by the VW Boys. Thank you, VW Boys, and Tim White for giving me permission to be able to use this music. So here we go. Trivia about this particular episode, The Guitar Player Returns. Here we go. Question number 1. Some of these I gave you the answer to. You just got to remember them. What Mayberry citizen has never heard of Jim Lindsey? What Mayberry citizen never heard of Jim Lindsey? So these should be really easy at this point because we just went over the episode. So surely you guys know the answers. I'm seeing our folks in our chat room, they're popping in and knowing the answers. We got 3 different chat rooms, actually. So if you'd like to be a part of the chat rooms and visit with all the folks, we got 29. We got about 50 people online right now. And they are located at live.twochairsnowaiting.com. And there are also some folks over on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page. So there's lots of different places you can go and chat and watch the live show on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So come and join us. So what Mayberry citizen didn't know or never heard of Jim Lindsey? The answer is Miss Ellie. Miss Ellie didn't. She'd never heard of him. I mentioned it earlier, so if you weren't listening, that's your fault. All right, I'd said this one too, so this is another odd fact I didn't give you, so this is it. Barney says Jim has a hit record. What is it called? Barney said that Jim Lindsey has a hit record. What is it called? It's a good one. I actually have a record cover for that. I should have shown that tonight. So the name of the record, according to Barney, it's Jim's big hit, is Rock and Roll Rosie from Raleigh. I'd love to actually hear the song. I don't think I've ever heard it. So folks in our chat room are getting it right. Good job. Thanks. Y'all were listening. Both chat rooms, main chat room and YouTube. I'm seeing the right answer. Good job. Number 3. The mayor proposes that his daughter sing which song? I didn't tell this during the show. On purpose, I left it out. The mayor proposes his daughter sings which song? That's when Jim's arriving in town. The answer, because she had sang it earlier in the season, is Flow Gently, Sweet Afton. That's what he recommended. Remember, she sang it when they were going to cut down the old tree, the old oak tree there in the middle of town because it was a eyesore. When the Mayberry Goes Hollywood was the name of the episode. But he recommended she sing it again. And the guys just kind of had this look like, oh, hopefully they got away without doing that. She wasn't there, so must have got away with it. Number 4. This episode is in black and white. But what color does Andy use to describe Jim Lindsey's little sports car? What color does he say it is? He actually says the color. Okay, so we can't see the color because it's black and white. But what color does Andy use to describe Jim's car? Man, folks are getting this too. Good job in our chat room. All the chat rooms are getting it. Good job. The color, Andy says, ooh, look at that, red, and look at all those little buttons in there. So it's a red sports car. That's what it was. All right. So what does Opie end up doing with the confetti? I told you the answer on this one. I sure did. I told you, but I couldn't remember the name of what the word was. Y'all probably got distracted by that and missed out the whole thing. I don't know. But what does Opie do with the confetti? What does he do with it? Yeah, he threw it at Andy, but the wind blew it and it basically all got on Ellie and Aunt B, because it's pretty funny if you actually watch the episode and pay attention to that, because I never had, but it all blew mostly as Opie threw it toward Andy, toward the edge of the porch. The wind blew it back toward the door, and it basically all got on Opie, Ellie, and Aunt B. Andy got a little bit in his hair. Andy even mentions it. He even says something. He said, yeah, Miss Ellie. He mentions that she got it all over her too. So, all right. He threw it at Andy. All right. Number 6. What song do Andy and Jim play together for Aunt B, Ellie, and Barney? They're at their house. What song do they play? What song does Jim and Andy play for Ellie, Aunt B, and Barney? Yeah, so, yeah. All right. So folks are getting it. Folks are getting it right. So it's called The Midnight Special. Well, the Midnight Special, shine ever loving light on me. Yeah, that's it. All right. That's good. All right. Next one, number 7. What slang term does the band use to refer to a suit? So you got a brand new suit, Jim does. He tells it, what slang term does the band use to refer to a new suit? New suit. I don't know if it would just be for suits, but it's definitely for suits. All right. The answer is a set of threads. Got a set of threads. That's and Barney really liked it. So when you watch, Barney really likes it. Jim just said it, and then Barney looks over at Andy and Aunt B and Ellie and says, "It's a set of threads." Yeah, and then he says it again later when Jim comes back after having his car repossessed. He says it again. All right, number 8. There's 10 questions. Number 8. Who tells Andy the truth about Jim's situation? Who tells Andy the truth about Jim's situation? You got it? I told you. You should know it because I gave you the answers. Boy, I gave a lot of answers away. The one who told Andy the truth about the situation. Now, he heard from other people what was going on, but the one who told him what really happened, everything, was Bobby Fleet. Bobby Fleet told him everything that had happened. So, there you go. All right, number 9. Now, this is the one I didn't give you because I didn't get the quote, didn't know it. What's the insult that in the end caused Jim to quit his job with Bobby's band? What's the insult that caused Jim to quit his job with Bobby's band? Oh my goodness, folks in the chat room are getting it before I can even read the question. So how are you doing? I'm just not this good as trivia. You guys are way better than me. Yeah, I see Jeff is doing really well over on our YouTube channel. I see him. All right, so the answer is Bobby got mad. They got upset with each other, and he ended up calling him a no-talent bum. And so Jim quit. Yeah, no, you call me a no-talent bum. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. I apologize. All right, so our final question, number 10. Number 10. How does Andy resolve the whole money problem with Jim? It's really the better question would be, how does Andy resolve the whole thing with Jim? What does he end up having to do? What does Andy do to help resolve the whole problem with Jim? So I think me asking the question the way I am makes it a little hard to answer. So I'm trying to resolve the way the question is. How does Andy resolve the whole situation with Jim? So I'm going to give you credit if you say he got Bobby to hire him back or anything like that. But what I was really looking for, and I don't think I asked the question in the right way to get you to give me the right answer. He basically locked Jim up. He locked him up. That was what I was looking for. But I'm gonna have to give you that if you said that you arrested him, that would work. But if you say you got him back together with Bobby, any of those, I'll give you credit because they're all right. That is correct based on the question. So there you go. Yeah, Bobby got Jim back together with him by getting him arrested and then making him all be there at the cell. So, okay, that was 10 questions about this particular episode. They were not super hard. They were pretty easy, I think, because I literally gave you the answers during the show. Not to all of them, but to many. So how did you do? Did you get 10? Did you get 8? Did you get 5? You should have got at least 5. If you were here for the whole show, you should have gotten it. Yeah, and that is it for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know I did. I always enjoy talking about the Andy Griffith Show and just visiting with you. It's always a lot of fun for me to talk about these episodes and to do the research into them. Folks in the chat room are saying they got 9 to 10 to 7 to 10, 6 and 7/8. Somebody got Spooky Benson. So how did you do? It's always fun. It's always fun to try these. $75. Yep. This is what he ended up paying. That's what, that was the whole money problem was about $75. So, all right, guys, that is it for tonight. I have enjoyed it. I hope you have. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think about these episodes. We're almost through with season 1. One more episode left for season 1 of the show to go over. I'd love to hear what you've been thinking about the whole season. How's it gone? Is there things you'd like me to do different going into season 2? I'd love to hear from you. Give me a call at 888-684-8415. Email me at floyd@imayberry.com or drop by over at twochairsnowaiting.com and you'll be able to see all that information there. If you watch or listen to this on YouTube, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on YouTube and help us get more people finding out about the Andy Griffith Show. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you here on Two Chairs.